Joined now by Mike Robinson from the Toledo Rockets sidelines, from the Toledo Thunder, from Fourth and Goal Athletics, a man of many interests.
Well, thank you for having me here along with the BCSN family.
Absolutely. And a couple weeks ago, we talked on UA Local 50 College Football Weekly about the quarterback situation at the Toledo Rockets. And we said there was not a controversy with Mitchell Guadagni and Eli Peters, as Peters played very well when Guadagni missed the game with a concussion. Now, a couple weeks later, it's a whole different story between Peters and Guadagni.
100%. I mean, you put Eli Peters out. First off, thanks for having me, guys. And Rocket football, you know, this is not a time to panic. You know, if you're a fan, this is a time to find out the grit of these two quarterbacks. We're going to find out one thing. Eli Peters, he's a guy that can get it done. His receivers didn't do him a lot of favors. They dropped some passes. He didn't make some of the best throws, his offensive line, but we won't make excuses for him because he still was only 5 for 17 or 6 for 17, somewhere in that range. So you still got to find a way to make completions. And for Mitch Guadagni, when he was in the game, it didn't look as good. It didn't make a lot of plays. They did drive the ball down the field on the first drive with Seymour. Fast tempo, literally like 6-7 runs in a row, and then the offense kind of sputtered a little bit until Peters got out there. So the quarterback controversy is real.
Jason Candle, after the game on Saturday, said he thought Peters would bring them more of a spark offensively. I thought it was very telling that in the fourth quarter, that game was tied 17-17. Mitchell Guadagni basically played the first. Peters played the second and third. Neither one really had sustained drives. The two touchdowns, both long plays, explosive plays. But in that fourth quarter, the game was still very much in doubt. They stayed with Peters, didn't bring Guadagni back in for the fourth.
You know, I was surprised just as you were. You know, sitting on the sideline, I'm watching guys, watching their body language. It looked like Mitchell's ready to go back into the game. And when his number didn't get called, I was kind of surprised. You know, so when Guadagni didn't get back in the game, that left Peters out there to really fight this thing through like he did versus Bowling Green. I thought he did a great job. The run game kind of stopped a little bit, and the defense was on the field way too long for any quarterback to kind of come back from that.
Yeah, Mitchell Guadagni and Eli Peters combined for, I think, just 7 completions against Buffalo, only 1 third-down conversion. And when you have that many punts, 8 punts for Bailey Flint, when you have your defense on the field that long, it's going to start wearing down the defense. I think that's what we saw in the fourth quarter. Because for the first 3 quarters, that Toledo defense really played well. They got to the quarterback, Tyree Jackson. They were forcing turnovers. They were putting pressure on the quarterback. The defense was doing everything you'd want the defense to do. They just simply got worn down in that fourth quarter.
Hats off to Brian George, Mike Ward. Those guys did an excellent job with the game plan versus this Buffalo football team that everyone expected to come in here and just spank the Rockets outright. You know, and this is a football team with a proud tradition, proud defensive linemen. You think about Hester out there getting his first start. Guys are coming out this program, Marquise Moore. There's plenty of guys that can step up and play for this football team, right? And they did it. They did their job. But when you're 1 for 12, on third down conversions offensively, any defense will be out there. And you look at the numbers. Buffalo was on the field twice as long on offense as Toledo was on offense as well. So that kind of that changes the game.
I think it's just 50 snaps for the Rockets against Buffalo. Jason Candle says they like to get in the high 70s, if not 80 snaps, only 50 snaps.
Yeah, 50 snaps, I mean, that's not enough. I mean, you got too many guys to get balls to. You know, I don't think Cody Thompson had to catch that game. So you got to find a way to get the ball in your playmakers' hands. And you can't do that if you don't have the snaps or if you're not getting first downs on third down.
Lost to Buffalo, the final time the Rockets will play on Saturday this season. Scheduled, I should say. They could get a bowl game. Things could happen. But the final scheduled Saturday game for the Rockets. So you know what that means. Midweek action. They head to Kalamazoo. Thursday night take on Western Michigan. First midweek game for the Rockets. So at this point, is the challenge more mental or physical to play on this short week?
Football, like my old high school coach Dave Setmack used to say, is 90% mental, 10% physical. And that couldn't stand as true when you're playing in the MAC conference because it goes from some days you play 3 games in 18 days. You know, it just anything goes when you want to get on ESPN. You know, and so we credit ESPN to the MACtion games. But you know what? There's no excuses to that. You got to step up and play football. The schedules came out a long time ago. You got to mentally be prepared for this. That's why you do all the off-season training, the conditioning, the two-a-days, Everything happens for a reason, and this is a reason for the Rockets to get up. Last year, they didn't make any excuses. You can't make excuses this week when you take that trip to Kalamazoo. You did a good job of taking care of them last year. The last time in Kalamazoo wasn't a good one. P.J. Fleck and his crew rolled the boat all through this Rockets team, and we weren't happy about it. It was a nice wet day, too. That's kind of why I use that. But at the same time, the Rockets got to make some plays here. They got to go on the road the same way they did in Easter in the second half. So when this is a good team on the road, they just got to find a way to get the spark going early, and we'll find out who that quarterback is going to be taking that first snap.
You mentioned P.J. Fleck, former Western Michigan head coach, now at Minnesota. This is his second year with the Gophers, but his fingerprints are very much still on this Bronco team. When he left the MAC, he had back-to-back top recruiting classes for the MAC, and these players are now sophomores and juniors for Western Michigan. So the talent P.J. Fleck attracted to Kalamazoo is on the field still for the Broncos.
Yeah, he's got some talented players still there in Western Michigan and Kalamazoo. Some of those guys left with the boat. They rode with the boat when they left Western Michigan because they wanted to stay with Fleck. What an awesome coach. But at the same time, this is a football team that's beatable. They're on a 6-game win streak. That doesn't mean anything in college football. You got to come out there and play, especially in the MAC. This Toledo team isn't done yet. I expect this team to fully be ready. Offense is loaded with weapons. You got to find a way to get them the ball. And P.J. Fleck, his team that's talented, that's these guys out here, Wasink, very good quarterback, making good plays. But at the same time, this is a team that's good on the ground game. They got receivers that make good receptions. They're big plays. They're 15 yards per catch kind of guys. So you got to stop these guys in the pass game. But Justin Clark and company, they showed this past week that they can step up and do the thing of getting interceptions and turnovers. And you saw the same with Robinson.
Obviously, Toledo needs to fix some things offensively, but if they can get their offensive woes ironed out by Thursday, how can they attack this Western Michigan defense?
On the ground. I think the ground game is where you want to, especially when you got quarterback controversies. And you look at the quarterback situation. Let's start first with Mitch Guadagni. You put Guadagni on the field in the package where, hey, this may be a run heavy. Who cares that they know what we're doing with the ball? Run the ball, pound it. Get the ball to your playmakers. Brian Koback, he made a big run for about 60, 70 yards. Yep. And when he can make a play like that, that means he has more available. You saw the speed burst, and you saw the power that Art Tompkins, he has. He's not the biggest player, but he brings a pack of a punch. And he can get yards for you in a short yard game, and Shaquille Seymour can do the same as well. So we got to find a way to get the ball to playmakers, and the offensive line have to sustain blocks. So that room is probably working very, very hard this week.
And Jason Candle has said this week of practice will determine who starts at quarterback on Thursday. Now, a year ago, Toledo's regular season, went to the Detroit, won the MAC championship game. There still is a path for the Rockets to get back to Detroit in the championship game this season.
One game at a time, Mark. We got to take our time just a little bit, understanding that the MAC championship is definitely the glorious thing that you want. A bowl game, a national championship. You got setbacks that's going to happen. It's how you bounce back. It's the adversity part of it. And like we talked about, it's the mental aspect. So if you want to win a MAC championship and that's your goal, you got to do what? You got to win the day. You got to win the week. And you got to win on Thursday. This is the day you got to take it to them. Because if your team doesn't come ready to play, that MAC championship is washed away if they don't take this victory on Thursday.
Midweek Maction is back. Mike Robinson from the Toledo Rockets Sideline Radio Team. Thank you for joining us on this UA Local 50 College Football Weekly.